Hi, my name is Hayley.
And I'm Kayli.
And today we're reviewing Bring Her Back, Bring Her Back, Bring Her Back, Bring Her Back. Where she at? Where she at? Where she at? Where she at? Hey,
Yeah, Bring Her Back. The directors who made Talk to Me, Michael and Danny Philippou. YouTubers who've gone Hollywood and now are back to terrify us once again.
Yeah.
Ooh. So this movie is about Piper, her brother Andy. Tragically, they're going into foster care. And from there, weird things happen with their foster parent. Like their other foster brother. Is that what you would call him?
I thought that when I was reading like reviews, they were saying that she was posing him as her son.
I thought it was her nephew.
I thought it was just another foster care child.
Because she
said his family had also perished.
That is true.
So that's why, but somebody in the review was like her son.
That is true. But I think because she was telling lies to a lot of people, which we'll get to.
Okay.
But yeah, we have another boy there. His name is Ollie. And things are very weird between Ollie and Laura. And are there demons and angels and tapes involved? Yes. Yes, there are.
So first, we have seen the first one that they made, which is Talk to Me.
I don't know. Can you give it a 5?
Can we?
Can we? Is this our first 5? Could we? Should we?
Just do it.
Okay, I guess it's a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
Woo! We found a movie.
I'm shook. Which we love. That was my favorite movie of the year. Was it
Yes.
2023?
I think so.
My favorite movie of the year. Still really up there high. I like that one because I feel like it was like very innovative, great acting. It was kind of a different twist on possession because it had to do with like making it a fun party trick.
Party drug, if you will.
Party drug, right. So I really enjoyed that movie. I thought that it was good pacing, all that stuff. So it was interesting to see them kind of come up with Bring Her Back. So I wonder if they're going to keep doing that, the like 3-syllable words. Talk to me, bring her back. La, la, la.
Talk to me. Or I don't know why I said 4.
Don't.
But that's their sequel for Talk to Me.
Oh, because they're coming out with the sequel for that one?
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
But I could see that because that would be interesting if they do like an origin of the hand and or just continue how it moves on.
It could be good, could be bad. I'm nervous.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, so I think that this was pretty much on kind of the same style, if you will. I thought the acting was still really great.
Yep.
And the cinematography I really liked.
Yep.
So yeah, I think in terms of how it compared, I think style wise,
It's very
very similar.
Yeah.
Like you can tell they have a certain
look.
finesse, flair. They're
I
kind of
agree.
coming into their specific, I guess, style.
I think they even have like very similar themes of grief, of children having to deal and navigate the world of losing a parent, whenever the trusted guardians aren't so trusted, type of stuff like that. So I think it's a very similar theme. So if you like to Talk to Me, apparently there's this discourse online. This movie did just come out, so I haven't seen too much of other people talking about it, but they're like, you're either going to be Talk to Me fans or Bring Her Back fans. But to me, I feel like they all kind of travel in the same vein. So I think if you like Talk to Me, you most likely will like Bring Her Back. Another thing I saw too, there was some question whenever they were filming Talk to Me about if they want to keep it in Australia, because they're like, being in Australia, does it help with it being a horror movie? They had that whole like discourse of like, with the accents and the way Australians are, is it going to come across as like a wide, like, I guess it's like how they didn't know how it was going to be perceived in other countries, not Australia.
The creators?
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, me too.
I don't mind it. I mean, where do they think that the horror films would do better? Like America?
Well, I think there was some push for them to
England?
like maybe have it in America with American accents.
No.
Yeah. That's what they said. They're like, but this
Okay.
is authentic to us. Like,
Yeah,
we know
do
Australia.
your shit.
Right.
And it's not like I look and I'm like, oh, this is Australian. They don't have spirits out there. What? out there. Out back. Thank you. But yeah, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed they had accents, but also I feel like people, I don't know. Like, I think everyone is going to be okay if it's not in their country. Like, good God.
Yeah.
Unless maybe that's a thing that I'm just not aware of.
Xenophobia is a thing.
I guess, but God forbid y'all have problems in other countries. You know, like y'all have
Yeah.
spiritual warfare going on everywhere.
Right. It's true.
So I didn't notice it. It's something I recognize in the accents, but I mean, it does not faze me. I'm not thinking like this isn't real because they're not on my continent. Like, what the hell?
Right. I
So,
think, and that's
whoever
what they
thinks
end up
that
talking
way.
about too, was like these stories aren't just for Australians. It's like it's a
Yeah.
universal story about
Correct.
kids and
Yeah.
how they grow up and navigate.
It's like they're fighting possessed kangaroos.
Now
Let's get that going.
that's going to be in Talk to Me too.
Yeah, I was like, let's do that. But no, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I love when I can see horror films in other countries because, I mean, even though they are similar to America in terms of culture in some ways,
Yeah.
I still like to see other, like when we see like a Korean horror film or this or that, like I love to see how other countries kind of interpret it,
Yep.
or if they have different lore or how things kind of work in another country because it's not the same everywhere. So I like it and I don't have any issues. And I think for some reason, I don't know why, but I feel like the accent makes their acting even better. I don't know why. It feels so authentic.
Yeah.
I like it.
I will say the only thing is that I think it's just me, but I have a hard time sometimes understanding what people are saying, even when they're.
You need to do better. How dare you? But that's me in anything.
I
I
know.
will watch anything and I cannot hear what the hell they
I
just
need
said.
subtitles.
They're mumbling.
That's what I need.
We need an option, a captions. But also, I don't know if captions have ruined me.
You
Because
think it's made it worse?
I think it's making
So
it
we're
worse.
depending too much.
Right.
on
I
it.
think because I'm depending on like looking at it and hearing it
Yeah.
when I can't see it, I'm like, oh my God.
What?
I'm like losing intelligence here. So
Yeah, I need to start training my ear. But for the most, I mean, this one, it was fine. I feel like what Talk to Me, there was moments where I was like, I have no idea what was just said,
Right.
but I'm hoping the vibes are still there.
yeah, I'm getting the gist of it.
But yeah, and I think that the directors really like to not give you the answers to the lore. So like with Talk to Me, we have the hand. We don't know anything about the hand, where it came from, what it does, blah, blah, blah. Well, we have an idea of what it does. And then with this one, we have the tapes. We don't know where the tapes came from. We don't know if this ritual even really works.
Right.
Well, there was hints that it could. But yeah, I think they like to create stories and lore, but not feed us everything, which I think could be good or bad, depending on how you feel about that type of trope. I think sometimes it can work, but sometimes it can be a little irritating because they're like, oh, well, when am I actually going to get any of these answers? I think what Talk to Me, it was a little bit like, man, I kind of wish we would have dove in a little bit more on what the hand is and like where it came from and blah, blah, blah. But with Bring Her Back, I didn't feel that need to like understand where the tapes came from. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. So now we'll just do our overall thoughts. You can kind of give how you liked it, the things you liked about it, this and that. But this will be no spoilers. And then we'll get to the spoilers in a bit. But for those who haven't seen it, you can just skip out on the rest. So you're not, doing too much spoiling. But Kayli, what did you think? Overall thoughts?
With this one, listen, I wanted to go back and rewatch Talk to Me, but I forgot how violent it is. And so I forgot how violent these film directors can be.
The arm.
Oh,
No spoilers. Sorry.
it was very, very gruesome. Like there were legitimate moments where I was like, oh God. And I just couldn't watch because it was just a lot. It's very visceral and it's very gruesome. But overall, I liked the story. I think the story was very interesting. I think some people are getting a little tired of like the grief trauma aspects of horror, but I liked it. And I think it's interesting to explore again in a different lens of like foster children and how they have to go through a situation with losing a parent, but then also losing your home, and then being entrusted with other people that you're hoping have good intentions. So I think it works on multiple levels of the horror. You have like the supernatural element, you have like the real life element, you have the grief element. But overall, I thought it was really good. Would I say this is like scary? It's more depressing to me. I feel like Talk to Me had more jump scares. I don't think there was any jump scares in Bring Her Back. Not that I can think of. It was just very visceral violence and gruesome stuff like that. But that's how I felt. Haley, what did you think?
Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it.
Okay.
It's great.
All right. My overall thoughts, I agree. If you're somebody who's really squeamish and like doesn't like this stuff,
Hard watch.
it was hard. There were some scenes where I could not watch and I could not believe how long it was going for. Like I'd look up and I'm like, right, we're still going. So that was very intense. If that's not your thing, I probably would skip out on this one. I would say it's even more gruesome than Talk to Me. Talk to Me, I've watched that one twice. I think that it definitely has some gruesome scenes in it, but this to me was way and beyond.
They amped it up.
Right. So yes, it's going to be kind of a grief story. I wouldn't say it's scary, like you said, obviously, but I think you'll be stressed. I was stressed for like 90% of the film. Like as soon as they met their foster care lady, I was stressed from then on out. So I think it's very stressful. There's a lot going on. I don't think that this movie was as smart as Talk to Me. I really like Talk to Me. I don't know if I could say that I love Bring Her Back. I don't think the storyline was as unique. I don't think there was as much for me to wonder what was happening. And I think that sometimes, I think in this movie, a lot of characters were making very dumb decisions that took me out of the film. So that's all I'm going to say. I don't think it was bad. I think the acting was really incredible. I think the cinematography was there. I think it did have a good storyline. So if you did like Talk to Me, I would definitely recommend you seeing it because I think a lot of people will like this film.
Yep.
But I think to me, it just wasn't quite there for me. So that's what I'm going to say. And now would you like to get into spoilers?
Yes.
Okay. Spoiler alert. Get out.
Spoil,
We're going to get into the actual movie. So.
Before we actually get into the movie, did you watch the trailer for this at all?
No.
Me neither.
I did not watch anything. I think it's very important in this damn day and age to not watch a trailer. I'm specifically not watching anything. I didn't even read what it was about. I went in completely
Me neither.
blind.
Yeah.
So,
that's great.
Which I like.
And I think I was also like, in my head, I was like, I don't want to amp this up too much where it's like, I really like Talk to Me, so I'm really going to like Bring Her Back. So I was like, nah, we're just going to go in this open mind, see what happens. And I think that's the best way to go about it. But yeah, so it was very interesting when we opened up with somebody who is visually impaired. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that that's what this story was going to be following with somebody who was blind. And I was like, oh, pretty interesting. And I like the different elements they brought in where it was like sometimes out of focus where we couldn't see. And we saw her like relying on like the patterns of how she like walks through her home. But I liked that aspect of it. And also the trust that she has to have in the people around her to communicate what's going on, who people look like, what people are doing, to make sure that she understands the world she's in. So obviously I feel like that setup sets you up for like potential scares of what could happen. Like, oh, like what if something happened? Like, you know, kind of like Hush when she's deaf and she has to run away from a killer. You're like, oh, I can see how some of these scares might work. So I feel like that was kind of amping it up where you're like, oh, I wonder what's going to happen. But yeah, what did you think about it in the beginning? What was your initial reaction?
Like as we enter. I mean, I thought the beginning was pretty strong. I mean, obviously it was.
Oh, the wiener?
Yeah, horrifying. We saw quite a lot. But yeah, you see that their dad has somehow passed away from we're not sure, but he's like, there's like stuff coming out of his mouth. So I don't know if it was like implied it was an overdose or just implied that he had just some kind of like seizure. I'm not sure, but we don't really learn how that happened. No. But yeah, so their dad dies. There's a son, his name is Andy, and the daughter's Piper. They're step siblings, but all they have is Andy's dad and Piper's stepdad. So Piper's mom has passed away, so it's just them two and then their dad. And Piper calls him her dad for all intents and purposes. But so he passed away, which I think was like okay. And then they kind of get into the foster care system. I wish, and I don't know if this is being picky, but I wish they kind of honed in more on how they were truly alone. I feel like they're like, yep, you're going to foster care system, like. But then we go, I know that's jumping a little bit, but later in the funeral, we see there's people there. But I'm like, okay, they have no family.
Yeah.
I felt like there was not a ton of that. Not that there has to be. I guess we just assume they have no one who could take care of them. But in my mind, I was like, well, that was a jump. Like, she's just like, well, foster care. Okay, bye. And I felt like it might have been kind of nice to just get a little bit more into the dynamic of their family. Like, it was just them. There was nobody else. Like, Piper has no family. Like, where's her family? I don't know. Like, I feel like it would have added a little bit to their loneliness and to their truly they're on their own, because it just seemed very abrupt. They're just like sitting in an office. So like, yeah, we're gonna separate you. Okay, bye. I'm like, oh, we know nothing about them and they're just being separated already. But that's probably me being a little picky. But so we get into that. But I think that was good. You know, they introduce us to the concept of it's just them two. Andy is kind of Piper's caregiver because Piper is seeing impaired. I think she can see kind of shapes and colors.
But I think she said shapes and light.
Yeah, shapes, light, formations. So she is impaired, so Andy is kind of that for her. She doesn't like to use her walker. She thinks it's embarrassing. You know, she's probably like a 14-year-old girl, so of course she doesn't want to use her walker. She already feels embarrassed. You see that she's like craving connection with peers, which I kind of wish they dove in a little bit more. But you know, it's, you know, they're stuck in a home with a crazy foster care lady that you find out, so not a big deal. But like in the beginning, she was trying to find friends, and it felt like she's really trying to be accepted. So I think they did great with kind of introducing it, opening it up. You meet the foster mom. Something's clearly off.
Yeah, I mean, we find out that she doesn't even really want Andy. And
Yes.
it's like highlighted throughout the entire movie that she doesn't want Andy.
Right.
For more than one reason.
Yes. And Andy has a past of kind of
Violence.
can be violent behavior, troubled behavior. So they're hesitant to even keep them together. They're trying to send Andy, because Andy's, I think, 17 at this point.
Yep.
So Andy's 17. He's going to turn 18 in a couple months. So they're going to ship him off to kind of like a boys group home or some kind of a group home. But Andy convinces them he's going to be good. I'll go with Piper. He doesn't want to separate from her. So he's going to go to the foster care with Laura, who's going to take care. And we find that Laura's excited because she also has a blind daughter, but she unfortunately passed away.
Yep.
So we're already side-eyeing Miss Laura because she's
Big
insane.
time.
I'm sorry. When she introduced Piper to that taxidermy dog and thought that was funny. I'm sorry. Anytime somebody is like impaired and you're like playing jokes on them, I think that's the rudest thing.
Too much, bro.
And not even, she doesn't even have that relationship. Like if you have a close
I just
relationship
met
with somebody and you're joking around and you have that rapport where you can like joke.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like every time, like this poor girl Piper, they're like lying to her. Like even when she was like, yeah, Oliver, like when they're introducing Oliver, who is the boy who's already in the home, who has lost his family. He's like another foster kid, we're assuming. But when Laura is describing Oliver to Piper, she's like, yeah, he's red curly hair. I'm like, that is so rude. Piper literally cannot see, and you're just lying because you think it's funny. Well, we find out why later, but
yeah, because that's what I was about to say. I think it was more of a lie just in case Piper was ever questioned as to who Ollie was.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seemed kind of funny, like her pulling her towards the dog. I have a dog. Ha, it's dead. It's taxidermy. I'm like, that unsettling, ma'am. This is not funny. But I kind of like that though, because it gives us a little insight in Laura's inability to let go.
Yeah.
Like you immediately see a taxidermy dog. Not saying that if you have a taxidermy animal, you cannot let them go, but for Laura's purpose,
kind of.
yeah, we're like, not the dog.
Yeah.
Just sitting out on like it was sitting on like a coffee table. It was like
it was
a furniture piece.
Yeah, it was her pride and joy. That's her dog.
Yeah, she's like, this is my dog.
Yeah.
And did you see it was taxidermy at first? I did not get that.
I didn't know at first, and then I was like, oh no, it's still.
Yeah, no, that thing was.
I was
I'm
like,
like,
oh.
okay, Laura's a little wild, and she's like, Piper, yeah. It almost bit you, Piper. Just kidding, it's dead. I'm like, oh, she's unhinged.
I'm like, her dad just died, so maybe don't talk about dead things.
Literally,
potentially.
she's out here making jokey jokes. She's
And for
out here
her to
being
be a
bubbly.
counselor, crazy. A children's counselor at that.
She needs the counselor.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. For sure.
I think the introduction of Laura was great. I will say this movie, if it's tension they wanted, it's tension they got.
Yeah.
Laura was stressing me out because Laura's being introduced. She seems kind of cool, quirky, fun. She's playing loud blasting music when they first walk in. She's like cleaning. Now looking back, we realize that she's kind of covering up for sounds and other things. But I think it was very interesting because at first I was like, is she going to be cool? Because mind you, I didn't have any idea of what was going on in this film. So I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know if Laura's cool. I don't know if she's not, but pretty quickly after the taxidermy dog, I was like, And then her invasion of privacy with Andy. Like Andy obviously is not really wanted.
Oh, yeah.
You find out he's not the targeted. He's kind of an unnecessary piece for Laura. So she's like, which is sad because we find out later that's kind of Andy's life. He feels like the the unwanted piece everywhere he goes.
That's true.
Because we find out that with his dad was abusive to Andy, but not to Piper. Piper is kind of like the love, the favorite. She's cute. She's sweet. She's just adorable. And so Andy, I guess, has been pushed to the side. So we see Laura kind of doing that.
Yep.
And I think doing that obviously purposely, trying to isolate him. But yeah, she like goes through his phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
After he said something about Oliver. Because when you meet Oliver, who's like the foster kid that's already there.
Yep.
Something's afoot.
My boy doesn't say a word. He's mute.
He is selectively mute.
Since Kathy passed away.
Yes.
Her daughter.
Yes.
And so he's not saying anything. He doesn't smile. He like barely interacts. And
Looks
he does
spacey.
have a little birthmark or scar under his eye. But yeah, so he just kind of is just there staring at you. So of course a teenage boy is definitely going to call him a fucking weirdo.
Yeah. So Andy is like texting and is like, this kid is fucking weird.
Yeah.
And then puts his phone to the side. And so we see what we believe to be an invasion of privacy because Laura, you can tell, is like, what are you texting about? What is that? And she's kind of overbearing on what he's talking about.
Yep.
But when Andy kind of looks away, she grabs the phone, reads it, and is like, so Oliver's just a weirdo.
Yeah.
And it gets upset. So at first it just looks like she's invasion of privacy, but then we later learn she's doing this because she can't have any evidence that Oliver's there.
Yep. There's that, and I think it's also the whole she doesn't want Andy to ever seem like a reasonable person to take custody of Piper.
Trying to aggravate him because she wants to provoke him into anger and violence so she can kind of push his buttons.
Yep. So there's a lot of that where she's trying to diminish his character, basically, in front of Piper and others.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is it's almost Harry Potter like. The way he's like sleeping in like that unfinished room, like closet storage area.
With that like caught on the table, the platform.
Yes. And then the door doesn't close all the way, of course.
No. Door doesn't close. It looks like a storage closet almost that she like threw stuff in. So he clearly was not planned for, was not wanted. She did not want him here. She just kind of got him because the foster care was like, here, package deal for now. Let us know how it goes.
Yep.
And then Piper is going into Kathy's room, and Kathy again is the daughter who passed away from Laura. And you can tell right away, like that is creepy enough. You know, you just moved into this home and now you have to sleep in the room of the daughter who passed away and who the mother is clearly still grieving. Like that is a lot. So, but you can see how Laura is trying to make Piper
her Kathy.
Kind of her Kathy. Like, oh, my daughter was also blind. Sleep in her room. And she kind of like looks at her. Oh my God.
Yeah. No, and then like the whole thing, this is like kind of jumping ahead, but she's like talking to Wendy and she's like, oh, you know, she didn't want to change her room at all. She liked it the way it is. And Wendy was like, well, it doesn't help that. I mean, it helps that she's blind.
Yeah.
So it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, Laura's just like over kind of doing
the whole she's a lot. She's dealing with her grief. We don't know how long it's been since Kathy has passed away, so it could be more of like months maybe, I guess. So maybe it is just like that thing of her not dealing with the grief of losing her child. And then we get into the supernatural element of it all.
Yes, we do. And we start to figure that out, which is aside from her craziness, because it's like supernatural, but also Laura is also the supernatural crazy witch at night. It's not her porn.
Kind of love. Oh, didn't love that.
Oh my God. She like, because she's trying to break down Andy. So she makes Andy think she's drugging him with his like protein powder. So he's knocked out of creatine. He cannot. And she proceeds to pee and pour her pee on his growing area so that he thinks he's wetting the bed to break down his psyche. Like he's thinking, oh, this is because of my dad. This, that, the third. So
and she's a child not psychologist, but counselor. So she knows the signs of like somebody not dealing with their environment change, with the parental change.
Right.
So she's like, oh, you're seeing your dad, which he does. And then you're peeing yourself and you're violent. These are all things to break down that he's not capable of taking care of Piper in 3 months.
You are broken and you need help. So very interesting how that all kind of comes down. And then we slowly start to see Oliver. We slowly start to see Oliver kind of into this because Oliver is kind of there, but she locks Oliver in the room. I think she calls him Ollie. And so we see that, and obviously something is wrong. But I think this is kind of when we start getting into where I was getting irritated with the film, with kind of the dumb decision making. Like I understand characters are, you know, when you're in certain stresses and this and that, I'm not going to really like pinpoint too much, but like I feel like this movie was forcing a lot of scenes. For instance, for whatever reason, Laura leaves Andy alone in the home with Ollie because she wants to take Piper shopping. I don't know if this was a part of her psychiatric scheme or if she just wanted to do the alone time with Piper and is kind of abandoning Andy again. So I don't know which,
I think it's
that was planned or not.
Both, but also because like there's a moment where she whispers to Piper, oh, your brother got aggressive with me. I'll tell you about it later. So she's already planting those seeds that Andy is violent towards Laura, which is what happens like what we see in the end of like Piper's decision. But I think that's kind of what it was. I don't think she was like trying to have Oliver and Andy connect in any way. I think it was just to fuck with Andy, like, oh, I'm picking your sister over you, and also to plant ideas in Piper's mind that Andy is not capable and he's violent.
Right. Okay. Because that's why I was kind of trying to figure that out. Because I'm like, why would you leave Ollie here at all? Because Ollie can clearly get out.
But also, like, so she locks him up, and then because they're going to a funeral, which I don't think we talked about yet, but they go to a funeral and then they come back that night and she doesn't check on Oliver that entire time. So I'm like, you obviously don't care.
That's why I was confused at her responsibility levels. Like to me, Oliver needs to be locked up, chains, low key. Like, no, but also for the point of this movie, maybe the possession happening, we might need to lock him up.
Right. Bringing in some kind of demon. Right.
And I don't know if that's kind of a point of her plan is just not a full thought out plan and she's kind of just running off emotion because it seems like she kind of just keeps Oliver in there like a dog. But it's just okay, don't get out. But obviously we see a scene where Oliver smashes through the glass and breaks out.
Yes.
So she is not appropriately handling Oliver's situation. I don't know if she's trying to minimize it in her mind. Like it's not that serious, but like.
I think there's that. But I also think I wish we would have known how long it's been since Kathy has passed away, but I think there is that sense that she does see her daughter in Piper. And so I think she is just trying to like kind of feel better, like, and connect with Piper as her new Kathy.
And like not really paying attention to
Right.
Oliver and like what needs to be taken care of there.
Yeah. And I do think there's also because there are tapes involved that we see in the beginning and then we see throughout the movie where she's watching and like rewinding and trying to figure out how to do things. So there is this almost like DIY,
Literally
effects
DIY
of supernatural.
She pulled up her
occult.
YouTube, aka the tapes,
Right.
and it's like, wait,
She's
scroll
like,
back.
oh,
What do I do?
wait. If he gets out, what? Period. Period. You're fine. Wait, rewind. Period.
Literally. She's like, okay. Because
Yeah.
like there's like this strange, I'm sorry, if I go to anybody's house and you'll have a white
Not even blended in, mama.
line or salt or barrier, I'm not going in.
Yeah, something's
which is
going
what she
on.
has.
Yeah.
Because there's like a random white barrier outside the house. But we'll get to that
Yeah.
soon. But yeah.
So I think there is like, I think Laura is just a complicated character where she is grieving the loss of her child. She's also like seeking that, what is it called? I don't want to say like happiness, gratitude. That's not what it is. But she's
Just,
like
yeah.
also sees her daughter in Piper. And so she's trying to make that connection happen. And then she also has like this other thing going on with Ollie where she's like trying to have some kind of demon come back and bring her daughter back to life. Spoiler. So I think she's just juggling a lot of stuff and her psyche is probably
breaking down
Yeah.
clearly. So as we move through, obviously, I'm not going to put too much fault about Andy and Piper's decision-making skills in terms with Laura because they're kind of unsure.
Right.
Like Laura's acting cool. She ends up getting him drunk after the funeral service so she can kind of get closer to Andy. She kind of learns more information about him, pulls it out,
Yeah.
and then proceeds to continue to drug him, all that stuff.
I
And
thought that was going to be a little bit more sinister.
I thought so too. I was scared.
Yeah. I thought maybe she was also going to try to say, oh, you know, he's getting her drunk now. Like, look at that. Like, I thought she was
And
going to start.
abusing.
Right.
That's why I was stressed this whole film.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be more sinister with her getting them drunk and maybe like that being used as blackmail against Andy that, oh, he's incapable. Like, he's taking his father's death really hard, blah, 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 blah.
Right. And that's why I think I was like, it had me stressed because I couldn't tell what was planned and what wasn't with Laura. And she always was having something schemed. So everything that she was doing and everything that was happening, I was just like very stressed.
Yeah.
But that leads us to the next day when Laura, like I said earlier, is leaving with Piper so they can go have like a little girls' day. So she can manipulate her some more. But once again, why are we leaving him with Ollie? But okay, let's say Ollie generally stays in the room. But then Andy is like, I'm gonna go take Oliver out. Ollie clearly is not well, and he's like, I'm gonna break him out. So he takes a knife and like breaks the door down, brings Ollie out, and he's like, Ollie, and you know what? If you want to get to know somebody, great. But he's like, okay, Ollie, are you hungry? Look, we'll get you a snack. You know what? I'm gonna you know what? I can tell because Ollie starts to kind of make little symbols with his hands on the countertop
Like
when
he's
they're in the
trying to-
kitchen.
right, yeah.
Like he's trying to communicate. So then Andy's like, all right, well, let me get you pen and paper. So he gets him a pen and paper.
What did he say? He said, let me get this so you can talk to me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Period.
I was
He
like,
should have held his hand. Just kidding. I wonder if this is the
should've been
same.
like
Is this the same universe?
That's what they've asked. I've seen some interviews where like, is this in the same universe as Talk to Me? And they're like, maybe. I was like,
Okay. Well. Okay. All right.
okay.
But I like that.
Cinematic universe.
Yes. But anyway, so
He said,
he gives him
"Talk
pen
to
and
me."
paper. Looks like Ollie's kind of writing something down, but he's like it, and he writes down what looks to be bird.
Yes.
And we're like, okay, whatever.
Whatever.
So Andy is starting to cut a cantaloupe fruit like thing. And this kid is, I don't want to say trouble, but there's something that is,
Going on.
could be concerning about this kid because he saw him attack the cat earlier.
Which is true. We did see that.
So Andy's like, yeah, okay, I'm going to cut it with a knife. Okay.
a big ass knife.
Proceeds to stab the knife into
biggest
the
knife.
fruit and hands the fruit to Ollie with the knife still in his hand with the fruit on the end. He
Yeah.
thinks Ollie's just going to like grab the fruit and I'm sorry. When he did that, I'm like, oh,
He was just trying to be cool,
that was stupid number one.
When you're like, oh,
First of all,
look at
cut
this.
a few, cut
Put it in
the
the bowl.
rind off, give it to him so he can just eat it and pop it in like grapes.
Right.
But no, Ollie, then this becomes a horrible scene. Ollie grabs the knife and doesn't even want the fruit and proceeds to chomp on the knife.
Oof.
in the worst possible scene.
Yeah, no.
And so then it's
It
just a
was so
tug of
much.
war with the
Literally.
knife in Oliver's mouth and Andy finally breaks it free, but like Oliver's face is torn up and his it's awful.
No, it's so bad.
And so this is where I just got irritated because I feel like that whole
so
scene was
bad.
only just for kind of shock value.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like it didn't, and that's where it kind of irritated me. I feel like it wasn't adding anything, like, and it was just because dumb decisions were being made. Now, if Ollie went, and this is what I don't get about movies sometimes. I'm like, you can literally make anything you want. You can do whatever you want. This is your movie. Ollie can grab a hold of the knife somehow, but why is it because the characters are being stupid? Why is it because Andy is waving a knife around in front of the kid who's clearly troubled?
Yeah.
And who's not talking and is clearly like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That just like irritated me. And he's like turning his back to him. I'm like, okay, clearly this kid, and maybe I just am the viewer, so I know more, but I'm so sorry. I'm like, what are we doing here? I would never, I would never stab the knife and just like hand the knife. Like that would just never cross my mind. Like he clearly, maybe he doesn't need to watch Piper.
Well, I mean,
What are we doing?
I mean, we are like 10 years older than that man.
I'm
So,
sorry.
in the movie.
I said in the movie, I guess, but I'm like, what?
But so I mean, there
Put it
is
on a
that
plate.
whole like he is a kid. He's a kid.
No, I don't.
That's how it was with Taco.
He's
it
almost
was-
18 years old.
Girl,
You do not you do
bye.
not swing a knife in front of the face of a troubled kid.
He's
You don't do that.
He's a kid.
I don't care.
We're not
No.
gonna say like
me,
Talk to Me was full of dumb decisions by teenagers. That was the entire
No,
movie.
but those made more sense because it's like drug stuff involved.
No.
And they're being dumb and they're trying. No, that I understand. This one, to me, I was like, this whole scene, this whole thing is being forced so we can get the knife chomping stuff.
Yeah, I mean I can see it.
It
but
seemed a little forced to me, and I
I
think
don't
it just
think
kind
it
of
seemed
irritated
too bad
me.
to me. I feel like
No.
it is just like
Let me zoom in on your knife earrings real quick.
yeah, that's why I put them on.
Terrifying.
It was awful.
I don't know. This to me, I was
Terrible
just
scene.
like, okay, decisions when I feel like movies are making just like forcing dumb decisions so scenes happen. That's what I felt like. That was like the first thing that I saw, and I was like, okay, all right. So whatever. Ollie is doing some weird stuff, so that's fine. And
But
then
I think it also kind of helps with the story of like now Piper isn't sure who to trust anymore.
no, that's fine. I'm not
Yeah.
saying things can't go awry
Oh,
with
yeah,
Ollie.
yeah.
I'm
I
saying
know.
the way it happened.
Yeah.
Took me out the film a bit because I'm like, why the fuck would he do that? Ollie clearly can get out. Ollie clearly is doing weird stuff. We could have made that happen, but I just felt like I feel like Andy is smart enough to know that he knew this kid's a little off. Why the hell are you waving a knife in his face?
Like I said, he's a teenage boy. Do they
Right.
think? No.
And I'm not gonna lie. After that, okay, was this the summertime? Mind you, these kids did not go to school. Do they have time off
Yeah.
from school? Because I'm like, why are we not going to school? Whatever. Maybe they
might-
said in the beginning.
They
I
might
just
have
didn't
some
pay
time
attention.
off because.
Because I was like, go to class, tell a teacher, tell a trusted adult.
But
Because even
Yeah.
after that whole ordeal happened and like Laura's not getting medical attention, in my mind, I'm like, okay,
are
Andy's
you
old
not
enough
calling
to know
anybody?
that he can call for help or might need to
Yeah.
call. At no point did he call
Wendy.
his Wendy, who's his foster care representative or caseworker, until it got like really bad. But I'm
Yeah.
like, why are you not? I don't know. I might be doing too much, but I'm like, I feel like Andy is smart enough to be like, okay, this situation's off. Something's, even if she's not a crazy killer, we don't want to be here.
Yeah.
Call the
Yeah.
caseworker.
I think it just
Get some help.
It's also just like I mean, I think his dad just died, and I think it's just a lot of things going on all at once. So
I guess. If that's the case.
That's what I'm thinking.
But I'm sorry, you got the kid locked up in the room and he just grabbed the knife and is chomping on it and we're not getting him medical attention. Even if I'm 17,
and that's what we see too.
I'm out of there.
Well, that's what we see too. So we see him bring we see Andy bring Ollie over the line, the barrier.
Correct.
And that's when he starts freaking the fuck out. And then that's when he starts being on the ground and you see stuff popping out his stomach. And it seems like that's when the trance is broken and the real Ollie
comes through and begs for help.
yes.
And then
And that's when
Laura
comes
comes
back,
home and then
she's
drags.
like, what are you doing?
Yes. And
Yes.
then drags Ollie back. And that's when she watches the tapes because she's doing her DIY. Because I guess if you go outside the spirit circle or the barrier, whatever you want to call that, I'm sure there's a name for it. When you go outside it, I think that the possession loses it. But I guess she pulled Ollie back in time because she watched the tapes.
She said, hold on.
She said, hold on.
Thank God the
where's
tapes
the table of
show
contents?
what to do.
Thank you. I said, where's the table of contents? What happens if, like, literally
Troubleshooting 101.
specific. They've been doing this for quite some time.
So the song that she was playing when that happened, I was like, damn, I love that song. Untouched by the Veronicas.
No, that's actually crazy.
I was like, oh, this is such a good song.
She
So
has great taste.
I started,
Stop.
whenever she was like, what do I do? And I was like, untouched.
No, that was wild.
I love that song. That song is such a bop. And I saw people being like, oh, not our national anthem.
Right. You know what? She's multifaceted.
She's a-
Two things can be true.
I have good taste.
Right. Two things can be true.
My playlist is fire. What do you want me
Right.
to do?
What do you want me to do?
Change it to
It
some
was
kind of
just up
seance
next.
music?
I don't know.
Right.
Right. Play some like.
Yeah. But yeah, it's very interesting that like we didn't go get help or call anybody or figure out like how to
Well, because to me,
remedy the
if you,
situation.
granted, I don't know what universe this is. Maybe, they don't watch a lot of demon possession movies, but I'm sorry. When I pull you over the line, when literally Andy was dragging him to try to get him up, because initially Andy was going to take him to the hospital.
Yes.
So he's dragging him, but as soon as they got to the edge of that white barrier, Oliver starts going crazy, cannot pass it. And I'm like, look down.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just was kind of like, I get that he's a kid and this is different, but to me, it was like, and it's not like a little like skinny salt line. It's a thick, like parking spot line, just circle around the house. So it's not like you can't see it. He even noticed it when they came in. So I'm like, and then when he comes over, he starts like, going crazy. He's like, help me. And I'm like, help him. And so then Laura comes home and is like, shh, drags him back. It's like, oh my God, you're crazy. But I'm like, this to me was so traumatic of an experience. At least call Wendy.
Yeah.
At least check and be like, does she have another kid here? Something. So I think in that there were things that, I mean, I know we have to have a plot, but like, I'm like, you can write anything. Like make it to where if Andy does call, I don't know. Cause then I just feel like when characters are just not doing things, it just makes me feel like we're just not writing. We're just kind of like, okay, well then Andy just goes back in. He's weirded out. You shouldn't just be weirded out. I would have grabbed Piper and left. Cause what do you mean? If I'm in the foster care, I'm 17. We'll figure it out later. We will figure that out later. But I don't know.
But I'm trying to remember like how long things have been.
Like if it was a week, 2 weeks,
Well,
a couple
that,
days.
and also like, so that happens. And then I know the shower scene happens quite soon after that.
That's because she got, okay. So this is another question I had. So at the funeral, Laura's weird.
Period.
She makes Andy kiss him, tries to get him to kiss him on the lips.
Yeah.
She clearly has a weird thing with grief and thinks that she's a little too intense.
She is.
But she clips a piece of their dad's hair when no one else is there,
And
like as
kisses
an
him
open
on the
casket.
lips.
And then kisses on the lips, like cuts his hair off.
Yeah.
And then we see her feed this hair to
Ollie
later on. And then
I think it is right after she calms him down.
yes, after the whole ordeal with Ollie breaking the barrier, come back in, she feeds him the hair. And then this is where Andy sees his dad in the shower.
Yes.
So it's like, is this a hallucination or was this an actual apparition brought on by the hair?
The magic. Yeah.
Yeah, because we later learned that I thought Ollie was going to be the daughter and she just wanted to transfer the daughter to a girl because, she might not have had a good candidate at first. She's like, no, I need to transfer my daughter until I can get a vessel. But we find out later that this is just a demon entity that she has put in Ollie, who's supposed to help in the transfer of whatever. So I'm wondering if, because she gave Ollie the hair, if the demon was then taking that DNA and able to recreate the ghost or the being.
Yep.
So I don't know if Ollie turned into the dad for a minute.
I think so.
Or if it was just a projection that they were able to, that Ollie or the demon was able to create. I'm not sure about that.
I think it was him becoming his dad, because there's a moment when, so Andy falls and hits his head. And whenever you see the dad's face getting closer, there's a moment where it flashes and it's Ollie.
Okay. That's why I was kind of putting together. So it seems like there's quite a few abilities, but it feels like that obviously was what Laura was building up to. Like she wants to make, so I don't know if she's trying to kill Andy or just scare him out. Cause he did slip, fall in the shower and get a concussion.
Yeah. Fucked up.
So he's in the hospital. And even when we're in the hospital, there's no trusted adult. Wendy doesn't come down. Like I'm like, you're telling me the foster care system, the kid slipped and fell. Where is the caseworker?
Yeah, that's what it should be. But maybe because we know that Laura did work at the same place that Wendy worked at, maybe she knows how to get. We didn't dive into that part. It wasn't the main story of like that the directors are trying to push. But maybe that is what we're supposed to infer, is that Laura knows how to work around the system to manipulate things like she continued to do the entire time. Right. But also, so when she goes over there to check on Andy at the hospital, there is a moment where some people on Reddit said that she killed his dad.
She did.
I did not hear
You missed
this.
it?
See? Australians.
Put it in American next time so we can understand.
Yeah, put it in American.
No, it was real subtle. She said it quick. She was like, oh, something like, is it because when your dad fell when I killed him? And then, did you see? Because Andy was like, what? It's just like, when your dad fell. And he was like, huh? So she threw it in there. Now, I don't know if she really said it or if that was Andy subconscious, or I don't really know if it was
just
supposed
trying to fuck
be,
with him,
or she's making him spiral more out of control.
Yeah.
But I do believe that their dad was killed by her.
Oh,
okay. I think she had been planning this because she needed to find somebody who was visually impaired.
Yep.
And she found someone who only had one parent left and no one else could take care of them.
She said perfect.
It's true.
One left.
You know, because she potentially, I mean, obviously she's probably done her research. She kidnapped a kid and did all this stuff. So I think she really did, because she let it slip. And I believe fully there was some little voodoo demon shit she was doing. But they never really talk about how the dad died. At least I don't remember them saying it was this or that, or if he had like a substance abuse issue. Like, they never really dove into that. But I do know he was foaming at like the mouth. Like there was like a substance. So it to me looked like he was taking something or had been killed. And we know that Laura can drug. So I think Laura set that in motion, because I believe I may be remembering this wrong, but I remember Wendy kind of saying like, oh, Laura's really excited. Like initially was like, Laura's ready to is really excited for Piper. So I think she definitely put all that into motion so that they would be dadless. And then she had to figure out a way to get Andy out of there, or, you know, make him feel like he's crazy and then move on from there.
Oh,
so
damn, I missed that. I'm so glad you heard it.
Oh, she said it. No, because I was like, oh, she's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
So, which I thought was good. But I think what was bothering me is once it started kicking in, I'm like, okay, like I get that she was in the or Laura used to work for the same foster care system and was a counselor. So she does have a little bit of a one-up leg there, but I just feel like there was just, I didn't see too many questions being asked anyway. Like even if and I don't know how it works in the medical field, but if there's a kid, he had a concussion and he might be screaming. So you might chalk that up to, a little bit of a brain injury, but I'm like, why is no one coming in and just like confirming, or like nobody's like, if he's screaming, I'm like, what happened to him? He slipped and fell?
Right. Nobody was asking questions.
Nobody asked questions.
There was
Nobody
one
sent
adult
anybody.
who asked a question about Piper's eye, which I think we haven't touched on
at the
yet.
daycare, or not the daycare, but the rec center for kids.
She was like, can I talk about Piper's eye? She's like, no, bitch. I'm like, why are you not then
so maybe
dialing?
She called. She might have, but maybe they're like, we'll get there when we can, ma'am. I don't know.
Because we also know, I mean, in America at least, we know that the foster system, social workers, everything is very, it's terrible. So yeah, we have like the part where Laura slaps or punches Piper in the eye and has it. So maybe she's questioning if Andy did it to her or not, because she sprayed on his cologne. So she's constantly building this mistrust between Piper and Andy, so that way she can gain the trust of Piper when it comes time to
the grand finale.
Right. So we get to, I guess, so where we left off was with Andy at the hospital. Andy gets out the hospital, and that's when he gets into a fight with Laura again and punches the wall. And she's like, oh my God, it's the steroids. He's like, girl, it's creatine.
That's crazy. Well, no, it's the drugs.
Right.
Sleeping
it's the drugs
bitch.
Done. But yeah, so that's whenever he punches the wall and Piper's there, and she's like very concerned. And that's when Andy leaves and goes to Wendy finally.
And this is where it also pissed me off. Now, I get initially when Wendy is kind of like, okay, because Wendy's a caseworker and he's finally coming in. It's like, she's crazy. And I get being like, okay, we have a troubled kid. Stuff might be happening. But to me, when you're doing a welfare check, especially with the accusations that there is another child present,
especially a missing child,
I said there needs to be a cop present.
Yeah, I agree.
That is what pissed me off. And I knew it was going to happen. Yeah. I knew. I'm like, they're going to send this poor defenseless woman and Andy, who's struggling with an injury. He's struggling already, to send them to the house to do a checkup. I'm like, why is there not a police officer coming with them? I mean, I know why.
Yeah.
But to me, I'm like, you could even write a police officer in and she just kills everybody. Like, to me, it's like, I appreciate when characters make sound decisions. Because that's the thing. Well, I know, Laura, she would never do that. I'm like, where is the process? Where is the process? There has to be a process. So I don't know if I'm nitpicky here, but I think this kept happening. I'm like, there should absolutely be a police coming with them. There should be another person present, especially if we're checking in on the welfare. This kid has come in. If you have evidence that he slipped and fell, there's been some incidences in the home. There is this and that, blah, 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 blah. Come on now. And like I said, I don't know how long it's been since her daughter passed, but especially if her daughter passed not too long ago, let's just check this home out. Let's make sure. So that irritated me when she just brought defenseless woman coming in. And of course she walks in. Laura's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Until it's not. Because by the way, Ollie tore off fucking Laura's arm.
Yeah.
So it's bleeding. Anyway, so she goes to the house. And also what pisses me off is if you know, Andy, if you know Laura is crazy, has a crazy plan, you know she's crazy. Why the hell you're screaming? Stop. Come in. Be normal.
Oh, you're
be
talking
calm.
About, yeah.
There is nothing worse that you can do in this situation where you know somebody's crazy is to let them know that you found something. Please stop.
Yeah.
Take a picture. Get your evidence. Go back to the car.
He also didn't have his phone.
Right.
Or did he?
Do something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it also irritated
was,
me too with the whole like he left a voicemail for Piper and she listened to it. And then that's when she was like, oh shit, I got to clean up because the house was a mess. It was obviously very obvious that something was going on.
Yes.
But then
Ollie going crazy.
Yeah. And then she had the opportunity to to clean up after herself and try to disguise everything, which I was like, there's no fucking way. Like, I think there was just like moments of like hopelessness for these kids that she kept getting away with shit.
Right.
And that's why I was like, damn, that really fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And then Wendy knows Laura personally and she's like, nah, she's great.
Right.
What you're tweaking. She's fine.
No.
But I do like that they made it where Wendy was like, nah, let's get the fuck out of here. Something's going on.
Yeah.
I like that part.
Yes. So yeah, I think it just towards the end, I feel like horror films do this generally is when things just keep working out for the bad guy until it doesn't. I wish it was just smarter. I wish it just made more sense. I feel like you can still have all the elements of characters making the right decisions, but it just isn't working out because the person has this planned out or they have this ready to go or this and that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess maybe they wouldn't have a film. I don't know, but I think that's when it took me out of it because I was like, okay, this is just going to become bad stuff after bad stuff after bad stuff, and there's not going to be a lot of like realisticness in it. I get it doesn't have to be fully realistic because this is a movie. We are suspending
Australia
reality
as well.
It's Australia. I don't know. Their demons are crazier there. I don't know. But yeah, I feel like then I was like, all right, we're just going to kind of do stuff. And then combined with like the overly gory stuff, I just felt like it was a little bit just a lot of it was just more for shock value and just like this and that. And I just felt like it lost its smartness, which I feel like Talk to Me had a lot. Like to me, I thought it went really well. I thought given the circumstances, the characters did well for what they were given. Versus this one, I felt like it was forced a little bit more. I get you have teenagers. I get you have kids that are not making the best decisions, but when the whole plot is kind of dependent on the characters just making poor decision after poor decision and like things aren't really making sense, that's where it loses me a little bit.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad. So I think that's kind of where it started getting to me. And then of course this is gonna sound bad. I did like how Annie did kind of die. It was more unexpected. Damn. Sorry. I don't
Which we didn't even talk about, but yeah, they get fucking mowed down.
Oh no, because
Wendy,
of course, Wendy Sass is okay. We gotta go.
My girl can't run that fast.
She can't run.
Tried.
And then girl. But not them running and not looking behind them. That's also another thing. They're just like running. You can clearly hear there's a car coming. They're just
well, Andy did. Yeah, he's like, oh no. It was
turn around. What I'm gonna do? I'm backing. You might still get hit, but the fact that I'm like,
backing. I'm driving.
I'm jogging back. That's why you walk backwards on the treadmill. Back up. But anyway, it's just stuff like that. They're running. They're not turning around. They're not looking. She's clearly crazy. Somehow in the time that it took them to just walk out the front door, she's in the car revving it up, coming out the garage. I don't know. I was like, all right.
Because I think he showed her something. That's what it was. He showed her the dead body of her daughter.
Right. But I'm like, at this point, just go. You see she got blood. She's tweaking. I got to show you that. Son. We got dippity doodah.
Yeah.
Dippity fucking do. We don't need to go back there. We don't need to look. But I guess I get it. She's like, ooh. And then of course, Ollie's tearing up the corpse of fucking Kathy. I was like, bro, because mind you, this whole time she's keeping Kathy in a freezer. And I guess doing spiritual shit. And I guess Ollie has to eat.
He does.
Her in order to do the transfer.
Yeah. My boy's jaw ain't ever gonna be the same.
His jaw, his belly. If you watch Walking Dead, it's giving when they ate. What's her face? Rick's wife.
Oh, Laura,
when they tore her up in that prison, and then that big old belly monster. Anyway, so I guess that is, I think, when it kind of, I don't want to say fell apart for me, but I was like, okay, we're kind of getting into your average. Things just aren't working out. The characters aren't making realistic decisions, given the situation. And I get it. There are very traumatic situations happening, but some things I just thought were just like stupid. Like, why are you, when you're running, you hear the cars coming, you're not turning around?
I mean,
at
Andy
all.
Did. He did.
Not too late, boy.
Yeah, but I mean,
she got kicked to the side. I don't know.
She said, But and then we get to so Wendy dies, Andy dies, which I wasn't thinking was going to happen because you don't really think a main character is going to die.
Right. That's why I did like it, because it made it was like, oh, that's not your typical thing that would happen, so he did die.
So now we're in Piper's perspective.
Right.
When she gets home from playing her sport that she's playing. And that's when you like get more hints of like how she navigates the world around her, feeling sound and blah, blah, blah. But
sorry, side note. You know what I thought would have been really cool? If we got like a full like 5-10 minutes of just her perspective.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought it'd be so cool if once she kind of gets home, if like we see in the car and we kind of have her perspective. And so we don't see any of the gore. We don't see, like, we know Andy's dead. We know this and that, but maybe we can kind of see what she sees.
Yeah.
I think that would have been so impactful, because it's like, we already know. We've seen enough gore. We don't need to see everything again.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I thought that'd been really good for us to kind of go through the house as her, not knowing what happened after Andy and everybody died, like where she put the bodies and all that stuff.
That is true. I think that would have been more
really
interesting because we only got real glimpses of like her perspective.
Right. It'd be
and
like
a true.
Yeah, like a scene of a shot or two. But I'm like, I think it'd been really good. And we can come back out of it. Like once she kind of realizes
When she
what's
starts
happening.
drowning. Oh, yeah.
Oh, but yeah, no, I thought that would have been really cool to see. Sorry, but continue.
So yeah, that's when Piper finds out that Andy is dead.
Yes.
Oh, and then, but before that, we hear like Ollie mimicking Andy's voice
So did he
and trying to lure
Andy's hair?
That's why, or something of him.
Because you hear Andy's voice, but it's clearly Ollie. And
Yeah.
but my thing is, like, I feel like she should have known it wasn't Andy faster. Like, I felt like they were making her a little too helpless. Like, I guess she is vision impaired, but it seemed like this is how it's been since birth. So I wish they made her a little bit smarter. Like, if you are visually impaired or whatever you have, your other senses are usually heightened. And sometimes, like, to me, she should have like kind of known the outline shape. The presence of Andy is going to be bigger, taller.
Yeah.
I felt like they were making her a little too helpless at times.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, she should kind of be a little bit of an OG. Like, I know this is in her house. I know she can't fully see, but I feel like she should be able to, I don't know, have other senses that are heightened.
Which I think kind of does get shown a little bit before Ollie attacks her at the end. Because like she's like running and then she kind of hears something or feels the vibration on the wall. And that's when she's like, oh, there he is. And that's when she's able to fuck him up.
Yeah, I just wish there was a little bit more of
more,
that.
yeah.
Because I felt like they were too much like, oh, she can't do anything because she
But
can't
also,
see.
I
But I'm like,
wonder-
she could, she's
Because
has ability.
The eye that she got punched in, I think, is the eye that she has more ability
Of
to
her
see.
sight.
So maybe that's also what was going on too.
Okay, that's also true.
Yeah,
but I guess I
fucking.
she got decked.
You didn't have to do it that hard.
Yeah. No, that's why I was.
It
like,
was too much,
okay.
bro. Yeah.
So that part, yeah. But I guess that's why I was like, oh, I just wish. Because even when you're going up to Ollie, Ollie's like her height. And she's like, it's Andy. I'm like, Andy's clearly up here.
Yeah.
Like, she knows
Yeah.
Andy
Yeah.
physically and stuff. So the voice might have thrown her off, but it took her way too long to not figure out that was Ollie.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless she just was doing that thing where you kind of want to believe.
But also, she didn't know who it was because her description of Ollie is somebody with curly red hair.
That's so true. Because when she got up close, she's like,
who the fuck is this?
So that makes sense. Yes,
Yeah.
no, that part made sense.
Yeah.
But I was like,
So maybe that's why she was like, maybe she didn't think it was Andy anymore, but she was like, who
trying to
is
investigate
this?
like what is going on, and maybe she was willfully like trying to believe it's Andy. You know what I mean? For a good minute, because you're like, it has to be.
But then she discovers that Andy is dead.
Yes, she does.
And it's very similar to how she found her dad's body. So it's like my girl keeps finding men in the bathroom dead on the floor.
Men in the bathroom dead.
And then that's when we get the conflict or the confrontation between her and Laura. And Laura's like, I have to drown you, sweetheart. That's crazy. It was really sad. I was like, oh.
And did Laura know the pool was going to fill up over time? Because like as the movie is progressing, like the pool is empty because that's how Kathy died. So it's kind of thinking that they drained the pool because Kathy passed away in there.
Yeah.
But then as it keeps raining, it's like raising in levels. I'm like, was this?
That was
she just want to save on water bills? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I'm like, she's just hoping the rain is going to be enough to drown
Because I mean,
her.
she does like look at the forecast and she's like, oh, rain?
She's like,
fuck it up. Let's go.
Fabulous.
I love this. And then, so that's when she does take her to the pool and tries to drown her. And I kind of thought
it worked.
No, I was wondering if it would have been better if it did work, where Laura wins at the end with her daughter. So it's like we get the other perspective of somebody like who is bad to us because we see like we're in the other people's shoes, and so they're getting hunted, they're getting gaslit, they're getting killed. But if we were to see it all in Laura's perspective, would we have something different to say? Because like she's doing this just so she can have her daughter back. So
yeah, well, I was confused. I thought it worked at first because I swear I heard like a mommy.
Yeah.
What was that?
I don't know if it was Laura hallucinating some kind of thought, or like if it was like the mimic voice from Ollie able to do it, because like he's already in the process of eating
Is about
Kathy.
to do the transfer.
He like obviously has something in his throat ready to go. So I don't know if that's what it was.
Yeah, does he have to eat part of Piper?
I don't
does he have to
think
do
so. I think he like gives her the soul.
like puts it okay because
Yeah.
in the DIY tapes
Yeah.
it looked like you have to like
There's a
do
moment where
something.
something happened on her face.
Yeah.
But then her face was normal at the end.
Yeah, but then I thought she got tore up, but then didn't. But I guess Ollie never touched
Piper.
So I was like, okay, there was not a transfer, but I was hearing like what I believe to be Kathy's voice.
Yeah.
So maybe Kathy was kind of coming through in Ollie and being like, Mom. And maybe that's when it was like, no. Because it seems like even though the demon is like conjuring the spirits, it sounds like the spirits still have the ability to warn. Because
with Andy's
dad was warning him, Piper is gonna die in the rain. So it's like, even though this is like a evil entity, it's not really the spirit. Does the spirit still have some kind of autonomy to say something? Because it seemed like even though Andy's dad was the reason why he slipped, fell, and got the concussion, he was still giving him like a warning.
He said, "Girl, be careful."
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, be careful." Slip. She's probably like, "God damn it!"
Right. He's like, "No, stop, just chill,
Get up." But so that's why at the end, I don't know if maybe when Kathy was coming through, it kind of was like, "Mom, like, what are you doing?" Like, no, and maybe that's why Laura ultimately ended up letting
killing
Piper go, because she realized that this had gone too far and this was too
Mm-hmm.
much, and maybe she saw the humanity, and maybe like the drowning was just so traumatic. She's like, I can't do this again. You know what I mean? Like she's like watching her and was like, I can't.
She tried multiple times.
She's like,
please.
She's like, just make this easy.
You're right. This was too far. You're right.
She's like, no. I said, honestly, at this point.
Yeah. But then I don't know like how full of this possession is really taking over Ollie, because at the end we see Ollie looking at the line and being like, if I go over this line, I know it's going to happen. And so he makes that conscious decision of like going over the line and becoming himself again.
Yeah, it does seem like there is a little room for the autonomy. So I don't know to what extent. I don't know if Ollie had been weakened over time. I don't know what had been going on, but earlier Ollie could not cross. The only reason why he crossed is because Andy drug him over. But then
maybe that's what helped too.
Yeah. Or maybe because he's joined now with Kathy. I don't know. They can kind of band together in there. But honestly, I was like, poor Ollie. I'll just be like, you know what?
Let me go. Yeah.
His teeth are fucked up
so much.
But it looks like he heals a little bit. So I don't know if he's able to like heal with the demon powers a bit before he crossed over, because I was like, yeah, your teeth gone. You're messed up. You got flesh in your belly. Like,
I hope he doesn't remember much of what happened.
I really hope, but I feel like he probably was very much aware of, you know, when you're like in like Get Out, you're kind of in there, but you can't control. So hopefully not. But I don't know. Or maybe the spell was weakening, because mind you, he had crossed over for a while and come back. So I don't know if it was weakening or if because
the failure of it. Yep. Because he did throw up at the end.
He did.
So maybe that was
over a little bit. So I don't know what the specifics are in this like realm here, but I mean, I thought it was good. At least Ollie was saved. Hopefully Connor, which is his real name, Connor Bird, which is why he wrote Bird in the beginning, you know, gets the help that he needs. So does Laura die at the end? Did she drown herself? Okay, I couldn't tell. She was just like, I'm just gonna sleep here. She just decided to,
I think she is dead,
pass away with Kathy, which, you know,
which is crazy work.
Water.
My girl just loves to keep dead things. My girl said, here's my dead dog and my dead daughter's in the freezer.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm glad that Piper ends up getting away, obviously. But because the movie itself was just so depressing and devastating to watch, like you see Andy dying, you see the reveal of Piper finding out that he's dead, and like this whole inescapable cycle it seems to be that Laura might win at the end, where I'm like, man, it would have really hit the nail in the coffin of it killing off Piper. Well, killing Piper, bringing back Kathy. Yeah. So it would have been interesting if that were the case for the ending. But I wasn't mad that Piper got away. I think she deserved a little bit of solace.
It could have gone either way for me. You know, we could have gone the real depressing route where it turned into Kathy and it wasn't quite right. Yeah. Or, you know, she was able to get let go. But the trust issue she's going to have.
No more grapefruit, boy.
That was so
Can't count that for nothing.
He's like, grapefruit. But once he lied that first time.
She's like, oh, fuck you. Actually, don't count.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that does suck. When you can't see and you are relying on people to tell you the truth, I can see how she would start to get upset. Like that would be very disheartening to find that people are lying to you only because you hit, like how exhausting for you to have to even have a safe word of grapefruit. And even that is not your safe word. And you are just very much dependent on the truth people are giving to you, which is kind of horrifying, because that was her whole thing. She is just dependent. She didn't know her dad was abusive. She doesn't know, she cannot see what Laura's doing. Even her own brother,
she doesn't know who Ollie is.
She doesn't even know anything. And so I think that was why everything, the truth is so big to her. And I feel like after this, she's going to be just very much obviously not trusting anybody, but that's so tough. And then
I think it also goes into that childlike nature of viewing the world, because yes, she is impaired, but also like as a kid, it is either you're telling the truth or you're lying. But like there's no nuance. Like he didn't want to look at his dead dad because he had so many mixed feelings about it. He was traumatized from seeing the body and her trying to revive him and everything. And so there was no room for nuance for her.
Because it's this or it's that.
Exactly. She's like, I need you to just tell me what's going on because I don't know. I'm relying on you to tell me. But it's also like that kid thing of like, oh, well, now you lied and now you'll never tell me the truth again. So it's like that black and white for her as well. So I think it was very devastating to see that their relationship was also deteriorating because of Laura. Like the only reason why she found out that he didn't look at the body is because of Laura.
Right. She said something.
Yeah.
So she knew. She heard that grapefruit. She said, bet. Do you want to get into some themes, some motifs?
Some motifs.
Metaphors?
Ooh.
I took a class once.
She took one class.
One time.
I think the biggest theme of this movie is grief and trauma. And I think some people are getting tired. Like I think I said this in the beginning, but I think some people are getting tired of horror equaling trauma and grief. And that. But this is what that movie is about. It's about grief. It's about trauma. It's about trust. It's about parents. It's about the foster system. And I think it's a lot about also the disillusionment of like trusting adults when you're a child and who you can look to as a source of security, which I think is why this movie gets so dark in some places, because Laura actively is winning for like the majority of the film. And it's like, damn, these kids have literally no one. They have no one. They go to Laura and she's actually insane. And so it's like, you can't, and even they try to bring in other people to help. They don't. Thought Piper's going to get fucking mowed down at the end. I'm like, good God, I'm so glad that they saw her. Because I was like, please, that's how Talk to Me ended. Didn't she get hit by a car?
Yes.
I was like, oh.
That'd be crazy circle.
Right. It was Mia. No. But yeah, so that's why I think it's very similar to Talk to Me, because we talk about very similar themes of like losing a parent and what that looks like when you're grieving, and then losing the people who you're now living with no longer trust you, or then her dad, she no longer trusted. So it's like very similar themes of like parent-child relationships and how they deteriorate.
Right.
But what did you see?
Well, to the grief thing, I also like the idea, but
she loves grief.
I like the kind of thought that grief brings more grief. Like, even though Laura had been in her grief, the way that she was able to like weaponize it and use it to make others' lives even more hell, because since she had been in it, now she knows she's a counselor too. She knows how to make people feel like they've broken down. She knows how to make people feel like their grief is taking over. Yeah. So the fact that she was weaponizing it, I don't know, I thought it was like an interesting twist. So it's not like somebody who's not dealing with it. It's like grief making more grief.
Yep. She knows where to hurt you.
Right. And also just the concept of not healing and what happens when you don't heal. What happens when you're not productively trying to, get better. And, not that grief goes away, but what are better ways of coping instead of trying to bring her back, and traumatizing these other people's lives and how it can infiltrate. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, because like even then everything she did was so calculated and weaponized. Like even the moment where she was trying to help him when they were drunk. Right. And she's like, well, you don't even have to look at me. Just talk to me. You can ask me anything. And so then she just uses that to weaponize that against him later on. But then it's also her kind of spilling her beans. Lighthouse. You spilled your beans. But it's her kind of opening up to him and being like, oh, I didn't cope. And then that's how we kind of get into the mindset that, oh, she's gone.
At least she knows.
She's broken. She's like,
she said, I never recovered.
Girl, I was sleeping at the cemetery. I was like, oh, no.
And brought the cemetery here.
She said, oh, you want to see my daughter?
Because it's in the back. Daughter's in the freezer.
Right.
I also thought sorry, what?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say this was going away from the grief thing. So if you wanted to finish,
And then I think even her trying to force Piper into being like, you can call me mom. Like,
right?
it's like, it's very interesting. Right. Because it's like, I've known you for maybe 3 days.
Yeah.
Let's calm down. And you're like, oh, well, Kathy liked to put her hair up like this. And she liked to do this, this, and this. It's like, Piper's not actually Kathy. But it's her trying. It's two things. Like, she's trying to bring Kathy back into Piper. But also because she misses her daughter so much and sees her daughter in Piper that she's trying to force that. Like, no, I'm your mom. But that's what ends up saving her at the end. She said, Mom.
Right.
Unless she was actually crying out for her mom.
Right. We don't know.
Yeah.
Not making Piper touch the crusty knee.
She's like, it's just meat. I'm like,
she said meat. She's like, it's crusty. I'm like, she's like, it's just meat. Why would she if you touch meat? What kind of meat?
She's like, I have something else to show you. And
That's
then
insane.
fucking Ollie like sucking back into the darkness.
I'm upset.
I'm wondering if that was like almost like a moment where she was like trying to get the ritual started. I don't know what she was planning on doing. And she chickened out.
Who knows?
But go ahead. Any other things?
No, I was gonna say another thing I noticed is like circles. I don't know if you noticed that as well. Like when Piper and Andy first arrive, there's kind of like a circle metal design object, like a landscaping, you want to call that, piece, but it's like metal and it has like it's like a circle.
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's just like in the beginning, one of the beginning shots when they walk up, but like it's like looking through the item, but it's like a decorative piece, like a decorative metal piece outside. It like looks through the metal piece, and then you see both Andy and his sister kind of walk into the center, and they kind of stop for a little bit and then go. And then throughout we see circles, like even the glass that was broken when we see that by Ollie, when we see the rain covering over it, it's kind of a circle. And then whenever she's calming Ollie down
with the circle,
it's the circles. Whenever Laura's wiping her
it's
blood, it's circles. And then at the end in the pool, there was a circle design in the pool, and they're sitting in the center of it. So I'm not sure what that necessarily represents, if it's like literal circle of life or if it's supposed to represent like an eye. I know that there's like themes of not being able to see. So
that is true.
I don't know, but it was a lot of circles and water, of course. I mean, obviously it was the pool, but you have the rain. There's a lot of the water imagery as well. So that
shower
can
and the trauma behind the shower.
Yes,
like
the
he
shower.
had twofold trauma with that, like finding his dad's dead body, and then also that was one way for them to disguise the abuse, which is what she was doing with Ollie. She was disguising the abuse with loud ass music.
Yes. But yeah, I just noticed that. And Andy drowning in the puddle of the water. Like there was just a lot of that.
Water.
It's kind of like water can bring life, but also
bring death.
It will kill you.
Yep.
So I don't know if it's the circle of kind of that whole theme of life and death with the circle and all that kind of stuff. So don't know if that meant anything, but I did notice it. And I thought there was some
in like occult circles.
Also,
right, but like that's also like a thing too, like that's supposed to be that boundary of like keeping in whatever you want in the circle and or whatever you want out of the circle,
because the circle around the home. So just things like that I thought were really good and unique that they put in there.
I thought it's a good exploration at what grief can look like for different types of people, because I think we got that with Mia and Talk to Me, where she had a support system and then it diminished, and then we have this one where they don't have anything.
Right.
So I think it was kind of interesting, and I wonder if they ever toyed with the idea of having the ending change where Piper ends up not winning at the end.
I'm sure they did. They probably toyed with, should Laura win or should she not win? But since Talk to Me kind of left us on a more depressing note, then maybe
they're like, maybe we should lighten it up this time.
Slightly. Not that it was great. Everybody's dead, but
right. But yeah, I'm it's so tough because I wanted to rewatch Talk to Me because one, captions, and two, to see if I could pick up anything else. I know that they were saying, was that big naked guy in the beginning of this movie, was he one of the ghosts that we saw in Talk to Me at one point? And so like it would be interesting to see those puzzle pieces connect. Right. But their movies are so brutal that I'm like, I don't.
It's kind of a hard. It's like I don't want to be disturbed again. It's very disturbing.
It's very So, but that's all I have to say. Do you want to give your overall closing thoughts and your score?
I think so. So I think I'll start with my score. I want to say, I think I'll give this a 2.5 out of 5.
Oh, wow.
Maybe I could be talked to a 3. I think the reason why, I just think, and I don't know if it's because I had high expectations, but I think there were too many kind of basic things about the movie. I don't think the storyline was that like unique. In general unique. And I don't know if that's something I should be basing it off of, but I feel like we've seen that. Somebody wants to bring their dead loved one back to life. I feel like that's kind of been done. So I don't think there was any mystery to it. I think pretty early on, like once I kind of got a few things, I knew where we were going. So it was just kind of like, okay, how are we going to get there? How's it just going to end?
Yeah.
I think that towards the end, it got, I don't want to say messy, but it got very messy. Like just, it felt like they were trying to be too intense with the killings and the brutalness. And it just felt like some stuff was more for just shock value than anything else. So I could probably 2.5 to 3. I don't know. But I think I just was like, I wanted this film to be smarter. I think that it was almost there, but I really wish that they gave it a little bit more smarts. Like I feel like Talk to Me was. I feel like Talk to Me just made sense. This made sense because you made it make sense, because you had to put things in place for it to make sense. So it was okay. I don't think I loved it. I don't think I'd watch it again, aside from the brutality of it all. Like I don't think that I would necessarily watch it again. But I do recognize, like, I do still like the themes. I do like the insidiousness of Laura and kind of like how she'll slowly is kind of eating away at, you know, the main character.
Yeah.
I thought the acting went really well. I love the cinematography. I think it looked really beautiful. I did like what they did with the imagery and, you know, the circles and really tying everything together. So I don't think it was a bad movie. I just think that with horror films, I'm going to be a little bit tougher because I feel like they kind of fall in line with a few different storylines. This one just happened to be possession. But it didn't seem like there was a unique twist. There wasn't anything different. So that's me. But I don't think it was a bad film. I think I just wanted a little bit more. I think I'm probably a team Talk to Me, comparing it a little bit to that one. But what do you think?
Oh, I was going to ask. So would you watch more of their movies?
Absolutely. I still think I like their movies. I like the vibes. So I would absolutely just keep watching. I think that they do a lot of great things. I think that they're still on the higher end horror, if you will. Like I would consider them more of a designer horror, you know?
Yeah.
Just didn't like this particular bag. Oh, didn't like this. But I would definitely be excited to see.
Yeah.
I think they're up there they're at least intriguing. Like I said, it's not a bad movie.
Yeah. I give this movie a 4 out of 5. I really liked it. I had a great time with it. I had no expectations for this movie at all. Like I said, I think avoiding trailers in general is a good idea, but especially for horror movies, there's no reason to watch them. So I'm glad I went in without knowing much. And I think the reason I'm trying to remember how I felt about Talk to Me and if I was happy or praising it for similar reasons that you did with it being smarter. But to me, it felt like Talk to Me. It didn't feel repetitive, but it felt similar. This movie did. Back to Bring Her Back. I don't know. I'm struggling how to say the title. It felt very similar to me, but not in a way where this was like repetitive or overdone. I like stories about grief. I like stories about trauma. I think it's still something that we can dive into more. Their decision making didn't really bother me. I think it was just more of the feeling for me where I'm like, damn, this is very depressing and kind of disheartening for the kids involved and how they just kept getting shitted on over and over and over again. So that's why I was expecting to be hurt even more with Piper dying at the end. But when that didn't happen, I was like, oh, period. Get out of there, queen. You deserve to live. Right. So I just think it was really cool that they made this a movie about somebody who is impaired when they're, what's it called? Visually impaired. And they casted somebody who was. Right. And I think it was really cool that even though she's never had any acting experience, they did a great job.
She did great. I loved her.
Like everybody on that set, everybody's so young. And I'm like, y'all did a really good, like even the little boy chomping on the knife.
He was good. He was scary. I'm sorry. He was good.
He was a very creepy kid. Just dead eye stare.
He was good. He looked struggly.
No, he did. He did. And I like the fact that I kind of now know to expect that I'm not going to get all of the answers with these movies. So I feel like that's going to prepare me for more movies of theirs in the future. But I like cults. I like found footage, which is kind of what this was a little bit. I like movies about grief and trauma. And yeah, so that's why it worked for me. I really had a great time. Afterwards, I went with some coworkers. I was like, man, that was great. And then the other girl was like, I need to throw up. I was like, oh, right. 2 different reactions. Yeah. But I was definitely chomping on some popcorn during the entire movie. And I was like, girl, I was like, man, they're really trying to ruin my appetite. Listen.
But popcorn's like a dry food. It's light and it's dry. So it's not like you're like eating pizza.
Or like some beef jerky or like something that's like
something you got to tear. Yeah. You got some kind of, so
something you got to tug and pull on. Or it might have been too much. Exactly. But I feel like popcorn is something that's just like when it's there, I'm going to eat it.
Yeah.
So I was like, ooh. But yeah, I had a great time, and I'm really excited for anything else that they make. I think their next movie is supposed to be a documentary about, I think it's called death wrestling, very extreme form of wrestling.
Okay, but a documentary. So I may or may not be watching that depending on how intense that is.
Yeah.
But I will be watching their films for sure.
Yeah. I think one of the brothers said that they had like 2 ideas rolling around in their head right now that they're ready to make. So I'm excited to see what they come out with.
How exciting to just have an idea and you can make it. I don't know. Like, I think about that. I feel like I have all these ideas and I'm like, wow, people really have ideas and they have access to doing it. Yeah. It's so cool.
It is very cool. And it's cool to know that they came from YouTube and are now making real movies.
Like legitimate movies that I think are pretty good. So I'm excited to see what they have next. And I know we talked about they might have a Talk to Me Too.
Which can be
Talk to You. Oh,
you ain't talking to me.
I'm talking to you.
No.
Period.
Yeah. Which I'm excited about and nervous because I feel like with a sequel, it could go either way.
Yeah.
Depending on who we focus on.
That's true. I feel like we might need to branch away from the main character. We're going to have to do another.
She's dead. Leave it alone.
She is. She might be running around. She could do a cameo.
Right. She could be one of the ghosts that you see when you hold hands. Yeah. But now it makes me want to like rewatch Talk to Me a little bit just to see like why I love that movie so much and see if my feelings would be different after watching it again. Because it's been a while since I watched it.
Yes.
And it's going to be the whole bashing the head.
But that was at least the only major thing in there. You know what I mean? Like, I think that was pretty jarring, but I felt like this one had a couple like 3.
Yeah.
And I was like, I could not watch.
I think after the knife, I was fine. I'm like, you could chomp on whatever. I wasn't tripping after that.
Right. Good for you.
I was like, that was the worst I could get. But I was literally like, oh God, oh my God, stop. And then whenever she ran those people over, I was like, oh my God.
It was a lot.
I felt so loud in that movie theater. But
not you, the reaction.
I know. Over here shoveling in popcorn. Oh my God.
You're the true moviegoer.
For real.
Cinemark.
Exactly.
Cinematic,
that's me.
That's you.
I'm in the background. But anyways, if you want to bring her back,
don't.
But also come to our Instagram, Hayley and Kayli. We also have a TikTok at Press Podcast as well. Hayley, what else do we have?
We have a YouTube channel. If you're watching us now, hey, at Hayley and Kayli. We also have an email at presspodcast@gmail.com where you can email us all your questions, comments, and concerns and recommendations and all that great stuff.
Yes. We also are posting our audio versions at Press Podcast on Spotify and Apple. And we have a second channel.
Oh, yeah. If you want to check it out, we do beauty stuff. It's Hey and Kay. Oh, we'll link below because I don't
Absolutely.
know. It's new. We don't know what's going on.
We're just having fun.
We're just doing stuff. Just why not?
Because we have ideas. And we have the able.
Them.
Yeah, we're able to do it.
We have, no kids. So we can kind of do whatever.
Damn, that sounded kind of sad.
I'll take that out.
She said, we're childless.
So we have to do something with our time.
Perfect. But yeah, we don't know what we're talking about next time, do we?
No. No. It's a surprise.
It always is for you and for us.
Right.
But we'll bring it back and we'll talk to you.
Stay tuned.
Bye.